Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Barber, and I am the branch manager at the Ottawa branch of the National Association of Federal Retirees. I'd like to begin this morning by acknowledging that the land on which the National Association of Federal Retirees Ottawa branch office is located is traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Since the fall of 2020, our branch has organized, it's hard to believe, over 65 webinars on different topics, and almost 4,000 members have been attending, just like you're doing today. We want to thank you all so much for participating in these webinars. We're absolutely delighted that you seem to appreciate them so much. On behalf of Ottawa branch, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's webinar from MyDignity Inc. And I'd like to introduce you to today's speakers. We have Bill O'Hara, a home care consultant, and Bill has worked in the insurance arena since 2011, focusing on the seniors marketplace and providing estate planning solutions and a method to finance home care costs that is convenient and affordable. We also have Miles Posner, Director of Strategic Planning and Business Development at MyDignity. Miles has been an integral part of the Canadian insurance industry for over 30 years and comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge. Through MyDignity, Miles is committed to the continuous development of long-term care products to better serve his fellow Canadians. And we also have Cynthia Schindler, Director of Advertising and Public Relations at MyDignity. Cynthia's professional background includes 10 years of practice as a behavioral geriatric specialist in long-term care facilities. And for the last 20 years, she successfully guided and educated people on the benefits of specialty insurance products. Veuillez noter que le webinaire aujourd'hui sera présenté en anglais, mais la participation bilingue est toujours encouragée. Now, I want to take just a moment to give a special welcome to anyone here who is not yet a member of our association. We hope that by sampling these webinars, you'll be inspired to join us. And we also hope that our members who are participating will always encourage you to stay and maintain your membership. Remember, too, you can give the gift of membership, or you can invite non-members to register to attend our webinars to try us out for free. To learn more about the gift of membership, we're going to give you a link in the chat box that you can click, and after the webinar, we'll also send you that link in an email. In fact, at the end of the webinar, Erin Higgins from our office will send you this email with full instructions on how to how to access the recording of today's webinar, the resources from today's presentation, and the other information about our association. There is going to be a question and answer period at the end of the webinar. And what we ask you to do is to type your questions into the Zoom chat box at any point during the session. And once the presenters are finished, I'll read your questions out loud and ask for their response. If any questions are unanswered, you can also include them when you respond to the email we send out at the end of the webinar. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to this morning's speakers.
Thank you very much, Linda. First of all, I just want to show you our faces, because at the end of the presentation, we hope to reappear, but I don't want people to be distracted too much. I want to concentrate on the presentation. So we're going to go off screen, but we're still going to maintain a voice, okay? There we go. Anyways, welcome everybody to the MyDignity webinar. You see those words on the screen, your care, your way? Well, it's all about maintaining control of the type of care that you will want to receive when the time comes. Okay, control, that's what it's all about. More to the point, okay, it's all about home care, because that's where people want to be and they want to remain and get the care that they anticipate when they need care. So let's digress for a second. What are the chances in people's lifetimes, okay, of certain risks? What about losing a home to a fire? Well, we all want to protect what we consider to be our biggest asset, and I understand that. I think our biggest asset really should be our health. We find that as we age. What about a car accident? Well, there's a lot of car accidents, but if you look at the math, on either one of those two situations. Okay, it's less than 1%. And we're mandated to have car insurance. Has anybody ever thought about what the statistic is when we need care, when one can no longer care for themselves? I think you're going to be a little bit surprised. Over 70% of individuals 65 and up will require some form of care in their lifetime. Okay. And the reason really is that people are living longer, not necessarily healthier, but longer. The only number that's a little bit more definitive is that people will pass away. And if they have life insurance and they maintain it, that figure is 100% of life insurance policies will pay out. The next figure down is needing care in the future. The Globe and Mail, back in 2019, did an expose on long-term care. Not much has changed since then, except the fact that more people are more aware of the situation. One of the salient points that I want to bring out is that funding is expected to triple in the next 30 years. Well, today, most people appreciate that this important area is underserved and underfunded. What can we expect? The future is fast approaching. That's all I can tell you. Further, any type of government care that you're lucky to receive, okay, you're part of a system, unfortunately. You don't control over who comes to treat you, when you receive that care, and what services are provided. This is compounded by the fact that there are more seniors now in this country than there are people that are under 14. The number of seniors is continually increasing. In fact, in the coming decade, 8 million people will be over the age of 65. So if we anticipate a population of around 40 million, that's 20% of people that are considered seniors, whether they're junior senior or senior senior. This is a very startling statistic that came out of the same expose on the Globe and Mail piece. 75% of cases is going to be reliant on the family. Now, being a personal support worker, okay, nobody signed up for that. It's a full-time job. It creates animosity and anger and distress and all these feelings. People really don't want to be a personal caregiver, okay? If anything, they want to be the care manager for their loved ones. They have their own lives to live. They have responsibilities. So we're going to ask you, why did it take a pandemic to wake people up that bad things can happen overnight? Okay, simply, folks, people don't want to be in a facility ever. I don't want to be. People don't want to be alone. People don't want to die alone. The answer is we all have to be prepared. We have to have a viable strategy, okay, for what awaits us. So, strategies. There are a number of strategies out there, and we're going to highlight some of the ones that people think about first and foremost. A lot of people say, you know what, I've accumulated wealth and assets, okay, I'm going to rely on that situation. But really, the fact is, people want to retain what they worked hard to accumulate. They don't want to use that money unless they have to when they need assistance. They really don't. I know myself and people I've talked to. Let's pass it on to our kids, okay? Give them a fighting chance in life because it's not a dress rehearsal. People that have accumulated any kind of wealth want to eliminate any kind of risk, okay? They don't want to deplete anything they don't have to. They want to safeguard everything. So what are the remaining strategies? Well, we can rely on government. Well, we'll see. We know it's limited. Okay, we've pointed out a couple of situations. And rely means count on. You don't want to count on government 100%. If you can get care with the government, fabulous. But we've all got to be our own advocate. Okay, it might be a combination. What about relying on family and friends? Well, really, if you think about it, that's shirking responsibility. Okay, people have to be accountable to themselves and to the people around them. People didn't sign up to be a caregiver. They have lives to live. Many people hope that it won't happen, okay, and hope for the best, that they'll die in good health. Well, really, that's out and out denial, okay, when you've seen the figures that I've just presented. What about planning with insurance? Good idea, but it's got to be the right type of insurance, okay? There's plans out there that offer home care and facility care, but they don't work effectively because the best plan out there that I've seen, other than what we're going to present, has a 5-year qualification period, okay, at the very least, and a 1-year waiting period. That's the best that you can hope for. That's 6 years before you can collect. A lot of people think that because they have extended health coverage and dental coverage, that is the answer. It's not, okay? Those plans are designed for daily type of situations that people encounter. It doesn't address things that are going to happen in the future when people can't take care of themselves because they're either cognitively impaired or they can't do activities of daily living. Those things are not addressed in those everyday type of healthcare benefits or dental benefits. So looking at that list, most Canadians would say, well, government help, if we can get it, okay, and planning with insurance really are the two most viable options. So let's explore it a little bit. Let's compare some government with some proper insurance. Well, first of all, with government, it's part of a system. You're a recipient of care. You don't have any control over the quality that you want and expect, okay? Simply, you have no control over who, when, and what services are provided. With the proper insurance, you are a consumer. You decide on all those issues of who, when, and what is expected, what you want. With the government, because it's system, okay, you are assessed on an ongoing basis. And because of budgetary constraints, things can slide. You can one day have coverage, not at what you might expect, and one day it can be reduced or perhaps declined, okay? Unfortunately, it's a system. With proper insurance, your eligibility is immediate. It's a 0-day wait. You have control. Your doctor signs off that you can't complete 2 activities of daily living, or you're cognitively dependent on people. Those are the trigger points. Those are the issues. Those issues, okay, manifest in life because at that point in time, it becomes very expensive and very stressful when that situation happens. Government does not recognize what is known as instrumental ADLs. That's activities of daily living. And those include laundry, cleaning, and grocery shopping, Meal preparation, which is vital for life. As a consumer with the proper policy, you have the flexibility to direct the type of care you expect, regardless of what it is, because you're paying for it or the insurance company is paying for it. So overall, okay, if we compare insurance to government, okay, it gives you better control over the quality of care that you require, because that's what it's all about. Now I'm going to introduce what is now considered the gold standard for this type of care. MyDignity Homecare Assistance. It allows you to stay at home for as long as possible. And the reason simply, folks, the quality of care has got to be better at home when there is a one-on-one situation, okay, as compared to a facility where there's a one-on-a number of people. And given the choice, people do want to stay at home for as long as possible. Now, what I'm going to share with you before I turn the speaker over to Cynthia is a motivating video that lays out the groundwork of the long-term care landscape in Canada. It's very educational, and I hope you appreciate it. And without further ado, sit back, because it's 5 minutes, and I believe you'll find it very informative.
Whether we like it or not, we're getting older as a society. The prospect of an aging population has been with us for a long time. And although aging in Canada has evolved almost exactly as projected, the outlook is still somewhat shocking.
In the coming decade, there will be more than 8 million Canadians over age 65. For the first time, there are now more seniors in our country than children under 14. 90% of people over 65 are currently living with at least one chronic condition, and many with more than one, like diabetes, cancer, and heart disease.
As Canada's population ages, these chronic conditions will require even more focus. The number of Canadians currently on wait lists for long-term care facilities is still in the thousands, with no end in sight. Many Canadians think that the obvious solution to an aging population is to rely on the government, not appreciating they are merely a recipient of limited care with no control over who treats you, when you receive care, and what services are provided.
There is nothing personal about publicly funded home care. It's all about how the individual, the person in need of care, fits into the system. Most of the time, there is a gap in the amount of care that is delivered. And so families are in a situation where they're filling in the gaps.
Further, government-funded home care services are becoming increasingly more restrictive every year and mainly addressing the more acute, short-term medical needs, leaving the less urgent but no less important activities of daily living assistance to informal caregivers. Informal home care assistance provided by family is not a minor commitment, averaging 20 hours of dedicated care per week, often resulting in signs of distress, anger, and depression. So, if long-term care facilities are overburdened and difficult to access, and the government will not look after us, where do we turn for those of us who will be reaching that eventual stage of infirmity? You can actually insure yourself and your loved ones for the unknown health support you may need in the future. It's called MyDignity Homecare Assistance, and many Canadians are relying on this very viable solution.
MyDignity is all about the person. It's a policy that the person can determine how, when, where, and what kind of service is provided to them.
MyDignity home care coverage can provide benefits such as personal support workers, home conversion expenses, meals, transportation expenses, health monitoring systems, medical supplies, wheelchairs, physiotherapists, and a host of other services depending on the policy you select.
It's person-driven care as opposed to systems-driven care.
A policy that leads to peace of mind, all procured with no medical checkup, just a simple questionnaire. Your care, your way.
Independence has always been important to my wife and I in other parts of our lives. And the MyDignity service and what it provides allows us to continue to practice our independence by living in our own home.
As a caregiver, as well as a healthcare professional, seeing needs from both sides of the system, I would definitely recommend people invest in a MyDignity type plan for financial security, for peace of mind, and knowing that those resources are going to be needed at some point in the future, possibly even sooner than you might think.
In our own particular circumstance, I reckon my father's care on the first 2-year average was about $122,000. So in my personal family's income tax bracket, that meant my parents needed to liquidate some $200,000 just to ensure that my dad was safe.
I am glad I accepted it. And presently I'm introducing it to my family and my friends.
I've already referred people to MyDignity who are friends of mine or business associates.
A policy that leads to peace of mind, all procured with no medical checkup, just a simple health questionnaire. As all the facts and figures of our aging population are analyzed, pondered, and fretted over by millions of us, there's a simple solution to at least ensure that we can be looked after when we can no longer look after ourselves. So take time to prepare now and secure your dignity your way.
Hi, everybody. It's Cynthia. Happy to be here with you. I sincerely hope that you found the educational video enlightening and moving. I'd like to invite you to reach out to our Ottawa area representative at some point if you would like to share that link to the educational video with your loved ones and others that are important to you, because certainly knowledge is power. And that's what MyDignity is all about, is we're very committed to ensuring that Canadians are educated about what their options are and that we take the steps to have a solid healthcare strategy going forward. So with that, Miles has kindly gone over all of the different options that people could elect. And I want to show you personally how the MyDignity Homecare Assistance Plan is a very good strategy for this need that we eventually all will experience. So let's look at some of the salient plan features. Thankfully, unlike the traditional long-term type of insurance policies that were available in the past that went through a tremendous amount of underwriting and so on, this particular plan doesn't have any medical underwriting. It's just a simple health declaration that if you can genuinely respond favorably to, you will be automatically approved for the plan. In fact, the underwriting is very, very liberal. Even type 2 diabetics can qualify. And as Miles mentioned earlier, there's no waiting period that has to be satisfied for benefits. So if you need assistance after a surgery or a fracture, it's there and you can choose what it is that you need. Even previously declined people who have tried to get those very expensive and arduous long-term care plans in the past, they can actually probably qualify for this plan. Important to note that you don't have to qualify every year. The plan will renew itself, and the insurance carrier, which happens to be UV Insurance, it's one of the 5th oldest insurance companies in Canada, domiciled in Quebec. So they cannot cancel the plan on us once we have it. It's a legal document. You're going to learn about the premiums associated with the plan in a little bit, but they're very reasonable. And in fact, even when couples apply together, there's an additional 10% off the rates. And maybe the best kept secret is that CRA actually acknowledges this clever plan as a PHSP, a private health services plan. So premiums can qualify as an expense toward the medical tax credit for people that are retired, or for people that own businesses. Again, they can deduct the premium, and in all situations, any benefits received are not taxable. So how does the home care assistance plan actually work? It's really, really simple. And I want you to think about it like this. What we're really doing is we're buying a pot of money, tax-free dollars, either 50,000 or 100,000, that's going to be earmarked for that time in the future where we need assistance. And we want to appreciate that assistance in the comfort of our own home. So it's really, it's buying a pot of money, a wealth preservation means, if you will, that's going to allow us to choose the different services, supplies, and equipment that we would need for care at home for our loved ones. And it also includes some other medical benefits as well. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves, our powers of attorney, our loved ones, we're empowering them to have the flexibility to choose and manage your care your way. Very, very critical. So each MyDignity Homecare Assistance Plan comes with 2 levels of coverage. Clearly, the most important is to ensure that we have adequate resources for care in our own home to get the benefits we need when we need them. But it also comes with a little hospital health plan, which would simply augment any benefits that you may have in other plans. But remember, we're just buying a pot of money that's going to dedicate what we need for that time that we need care at home. Now, Miles mentioned how one qualifies for this care. Now, you can have a short-term kind of situation where perhaps you're recovering from a surgery, or maybe it's more of a long-term kind of situation where you're dealing with the after effects of chemotherapy, or maybe you just are lucky in your journey, and the worst that happens is that you just get fragile over time. But at the end of the day, how it's triggered is that your own physician is going to be signing on a claim form that you can no longer safely do 2 out of the activities of daily living, which are very basic: transferring, it's mobility issues, right? If we're having trouble with mobility, we're going to have trouble with the next 2, and that's dressing and bathing. The 4th activity of daily living is being able to go to the washroom with good hygiene. The 5th is the inability to hold our bladder or our bowel, incontinence. And the last one, of course, which is the most serious, is the inability to feed ourselves. Where we find most of the claims starting is with the mobility issues. And as I mentioned, it can be a short-term kind of situation where you just have a claim and you reserve the rest of your pot of money for situations down the road, or it can be more of a long-term kind of situation. Now, one of the most important benefits that we can reap from this kind of a plan is that it provides significant resources to cover what is typically the most expensive part of our care, and that's the labor. Being able to choose somebody that you like, that you trust, that's going to come and do things that you need to have done. Okay, and it might be more than just personal care. It might be housekeeping, it might be yard work, it might be, paying the bills, grocery shopping. The important thing here is just to ensure that you're in the driver's seat. It also offers benefits like respite services. So if the family happens to be the informal caregiver, but they need to have a little bit of a break to recuperate, there's dollars that can be allocated to respite care. Home conversion expenses. A lot of people are forward thinking, especially nowadays, and realizing, maybe I need to look at a bungalow type of situation without stairs. Maybe I should have a walk-in tub. They're doing this kind of planning. But if they haven't, good to know that there's significant dollars to help with things. Like maybe one day a person has to utilize a walker. and you have carpets in your home. Well, that's a dangerous situation. And the carpets typically would have to be removed. Maybe the bathroom has to be redesigned, or there's all kinds of things that people need to do in order to stay independent safely in their home for longer. Meals, okay? You have the ability to order meals from your favorite restaurants, up to $700 a month with this kind of a plan. Incontinence supplies can be very, very costly. Also, and as Miles alluded to, and as did the video, being a caregiver is extremely taxing, and important to note that the plan has a provision to offer support for the informal caregivers. It's a very lonely time. And there's many more. I just wanted to give you the highlights of the kinds of things that people have been using for many years now. Now let's look at the second level of benefit, okay, which is a little mini health plan. Again, no waiting period, and you don't have to trigger it. You don't have to be in a situation where cognitively or physically you need assistance. But what it will do is it will augment what you have currently. And that might be that you need a semi-private or a private hospital, or you need some cash per day for other hospital expenses. That plan will look after it, as well as convalescent hospital. These are the kinds of places that people go to following, let's say, a hip or knee surgery, so that they can recuperate before they can go back to the back home safely. Different lab tests, MRIs, yes, OHIP covers MRIs, we know that, but can we afford to wait sometimes 4 months for that? So having the flexibility to be proactive is all part of this planning as well. Ambulance coverage, accidental dental, and again, any of these benefits that we might choose to utilize from our pot of money reduces that pot of money by the amount of money we are reimbursed back. Now, I want to give you an idea of sample premiums. Now, premiums are designed to stay level at the age that we are when we purchase something like this. I'm proud to say that we've never had an increase in premiums, but the Canadian insurance market, there is not one insurance carrier out there that can guarantee a level cost plan for life in the long-term care kind of policy. So we can expect one day, maybe there'll be a modest increase just to keep pace with inflation, but so far so good. And to give you an example, let's take a male age 65. To acquire a $50,000 policy, the monthly premium is $68.07, or for $100,000, $86.67. If you do the arithmetic, it's I think a very intelligent kind of decision. And remember, you get a tax receipt for the premium. Now, to qualify for coverage, I mentioned earlier, it's just a simple health declaration. And if you can genuinely respond favorably, your approval will be automatic. Now, the health declaration looks like this, and it's going to be hard for you to see, but I just want you to understand, this is it. It's a one-page kind of thing. And it's very liberal. Like if you've had a heart attack, you can still qualify. If you've had a bypass, you can still qualify. If you're in heart failure or you have cardiomyopathy, that is going to be a knockout, as would being an insulin-dependent diabetic. Even people who have had cancer can qualify, as long as it hasn't been a metastatic cancer and that they're in remission. So you can see that as long as you're in reasonably good health, and 95% of Canadians can get this, as long as you're in reasonably good health and not requiring care at present, you can actually do this kind of planning for yourself and your family. Now, I want you to be aware that it's not necessary to meet with anyone to organize this kind of thing. Everything can be done on a non-face-to-face basis. And again, I'm sure Mr. O'Hara, who is the representative in the Ottawa area, would be happy to assist. The applications are actually electronic, they're fillable. And again, it's just a simple health declaration, and we can utilize digital signatures, and you basically send it back via scan and with your void check, and it's done. So let's ask ourselves, why do we think this is a gift for Canadians, a necessary evil like insurance? Imagine. Well, I think we're all you know, with what we've seen in the media and what this pandemic has brought to light, I think we know that this is timely. Thank goodness it's affordable. It's tax effective. It's a great wealth preservation tool, and it gives people a strategy so that they are not making the worst decisions at the worst time. Because that's what happens when people don't have a plan. And I think at the end of the day, we all want to ask ourselves, which side of this doorway do we want to be on? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed what I had to share. And I'd now like to give Mr. O'Hara an opportunity to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Hara. I actually have a connection to long-term care. When I was a kid, my father was the doctor for a chronic care hospital, Our Lady of Mercy in Toronto. And I used to go out with him on Saturday mornings when I was around 11, 12, because I had a stamp collection, and one of the patients at the hospital was a stamp dealer. So we used to sit, and he had a little table, and he'd bring out his tweezers, and we go through the stamps. And the emphasis on my collection was Canadian and US. So he was just the nicest person in the world. His name was Julius. I believe he was a Czech, and we just got along great. And it was kind of an introduction to long-term care. And actually, it was great that this guy was able to run his business out of the hospital. And later, my dad, who was the sole doctor there, and then later they hired two more. U of T, just before he retired, gave him a specialist degree of a gerontologist, and he went in as a pioneer because he's been doing this since the late 40s. So anyway, that's a little bit on me. My main role is just to assist people in finding out about the plan, why it makes sense for them, and also more important, start my video, sorry. More important than that is when people make claims, often there's some confusion about dealing with insurance companies, and so I can help navigate that for you. Linda asked if how to compare this with the government retirement health plans. Basically, the government plans are great because what they do is they do offer a number of services, some nursing care, and we're not going to take care of every last item on the agenda, but there are certain services such as the personal support worker, the home renovations, the meals that aren't provided in your retirement plan. So this is a very good way to supplement the plans. And like I said, the main reason I think most people want this is because of the personal support workers. So I think that's about all I have to say. You know, if anybody has any questions, or they can call me at their leisure or send me an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.